Brings her from prison. Nathan Foster and his 14-year-old nephew, Ben, are tasked with bringing the pair to justice. An easy enough job until they discover something is inside Emogene, and the fate of the planet hangs in the balance. The Family Business by Mike Coopery from BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, 202-380-3699. And if you're watching on dlive.freetalklive.com, I've actually started the overlays. I was working on them last night, but I wasn't happy with them, so I just sort of put it off to the back burner. But it's actually She Talk Live on this Wednesday edition of Free Talk Live. We need the actual overlay and stuff to make that happen, and it's one of those things that it's nice to have, but I have more important things to do.
Yes.
In my time at the moment. That's changing as of Monday morning. I will officially have not quit, because I'm not quitting the other job, but I'm going down to like 9 hours a week. And it's going to free me up to take care of a lot of the things that I've been needing to take care of. Plus, soon, hopefully, I will be able to have contact with Ian. And that will make everyone's life, especially mine, and my life is the one I care about, a lot easier. So, looking forward to that. I mean, there was such a ray of hope when I saw this filed, because I didn't initially even know that my attorney had filed it. I didn't know what it was I was looking at. All I saw was something written from the magistrate's perspective, saying it is hereby ordered that the conditions of release are amended such that blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh God, it's done. I can have contact with Ian.
Me too.
But no, that wasn't it. It was just my attorney being helpful. And anyway, extraterrestrials.
Yes.
I mean, it's frustrating, and I can't stress that enough, to have been in that moment where it's like, yes, finally, I can have contact with Ian, only to go, nope. Only to have it just yanked back.
Yeah.
Because the magistrate wanted a hearing. So
Surely
silly
they
government.
Surely they're not going to grant that hearing.
I can't imagine why they would. I mean,
No.
there's no point. No one wants to argue about this further. The arguing about it already happened. And the judge already made a decision and said, hey, this needs to happen. So, but that's where we're at. And hoping
Now we wait.
Hoping this is going to get done before Friday, at the very least, because the Monday I leave for Forkfest. And now, if I can have contact with Ian, then it would just mean that I'm making a lot of trips from Rogers Campground back down to Keene during the day, and then back to Rogers Campground to record the show, because I mean, there's a lot to actually discuss regarding the show. But anyway.
So you think you'll make the trip back down to Keene a lot?
If I have to.
If you can
it's
have
not,
contact?
If it's not handled before Monday, then I don't see that I would have much choice. But if it's handled before Monday, then hey, that's great. Then I can just shoot him an email or a text message or whatever. Yeah, me too. I mean, all it takes at this point is the magistrate's signature and dating it. That's really simple.
So tomorrow, that magistrate is going to sign it and date it. I'm optimistic, and you guys are going to be having a talk as soon as it's done.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
You know, based on how quickly she got the motion and was like, yes, I want to have a hearing, I assume she's paying attention to it, and we'll see this latest motion. But who knows? I have no idea what these people do in their work time.
Do you think that they know what they're doing?
Let's wait until the magistrate puts her signature down on the sheet of paper before I answer that question.
Okay. We'll revisit that next week.
Yes, let's revisit. Well, yeah, we'll revisit that during
Yeah.
Workfest sometime next week. So anyway, extraterrestrials are in the news again. It's actually been in the news off and on over the last several years with the unidentified aerial phenomena, or whatever they're calling it now, where, you know, we have these things flying around and no one within the U.S. government seems to know what they are.
Do you think you've ever seen any?
No.
How about you, Bonnie?
Me? No.
Me neither.
No. I know people who have. I also lived on Dugway Proving Grounds, where lots of people who live there claim to see them there. It's like a huge military base. In Utah, it's bigger than Rhode Island.
Oh, wow.
So people think that, like, the government works on UFOs there or whatever. Like, lots of people who live there have seen them. But I personally, no.
I've never seen them, and I lived in Vegas briefly, where a lot of these sightings, you know, they supposedly occur because it's relatively close to Area 51, where the U.S. the U.S. Air Force is regularly testing.
Where is Area 51?
I'm not sure.
In Nevada somewhere. I, for some reason, thought that it was New Mexico before, but Ian, like, looked it up, but this was before the raid. He was like, it's Nevada.
I don't know what it was.
That screen flashed
when
it happened.
That's probably not good.
Anyway, I haven't seen any UFOs, but I have seen videos or pictures of them online when people have shared them, claiming that that's what they are. Today, we are going to go to RT.com and talk about an article written on June 15th that says the U.S. government considers at least some UFOs to be extraterrestrial and extra-dimensional, Intel official says. The article starts, it says, the U.S. government is aware of UFOs that defy any conventional explanation. Despite extensive analysis, a former official who investigated such issues said, adding that Washington considers them to be possibly of alien origin. U.S. officials have collected data on some extraordinary UFOs, Luis Alonso, former director of military's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or AATIP, a task force investigating these phenomena, told Washington Examiner. It is nothing more than an
Infinitesimally.
Thank you, Aria. Small possibility that such objects could have been creations of some engineers from Russia, China, or the U.S. itself.
I tend to agree with that assessment. I mean, we have U.S. Navy pilots and Air Force pilots who are seeing these things and going, yeah, man, we don't have anything that is even remotely capable of flying at these speeds or using these maneuvers. And it seems unlikely that the Russian government would or that the Chinese government would.
Right, because someone would have seen it by now.
But maybe like on Dugway Proving Ground, like just the average soldier can't even get on there. Like you have to have super high classification just to even go there at all. There are people that have said like that they were like in the deep part of it. I was only allowed on a small area because I wasn't like, I didn't have a high classification rating. Obviously, I was just my dad's daughter. My dad's in the Army, or he was in the Army. Anyways, but there were people there that saw like a car driving and go underground and things like that. So they have like underground, testing things like that. So it could be, only the really, really high up military people, just not the average, pilot, knows about them. There was this guy.
But what benefit would there be to developing these aircraft if they're not being put in commission for our pilots to use?
I wonder that too, like if it's true. There was this guy that I worked at a hotel on Dugway, and he worked for the government, don't know what he was doing, like some kind of training out in the desert part. And he told me, like, I worked in the middle of the night, so he stayed up in the middle of the night talking to me. And he told me, he was like, in less than a decade, people will be like, wow, you lived on Dugway? That's crazy, because it's going to be famous for being the place that UFOs came out of. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, they're working on UFOs here. But I don't know, my boss has said he was just flirting with you.
Oh, of course. They don't want you to know the truth.
Oh, yeah, true.
What did he mean by they were working on UFOs there?
I don't know. Like, I didn't ask. I mean, I don't know if I got any more information, but...
Because it seems like if they're being developed by someone within the U.S. military, that they're not unidentified flying objects. They know exactly what they are.
Yep.
Even if the average person doesn't.
I want to know how they took possession of them. Like, how would you catch them? They're so fast.
That's also a valid question. And I assume they were just constructing them there, but sure, maybe they captured them somehow. 202-380-3699.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, 202-380-3699. You're welcome to join the discussion. That's 202-380-3699. With you tonight, it's Aria,
Angie,
And Bonnie.
and if you haven't been paying attention, the Crypto Six are preparing to take on the state. We do not intend to back down. With a prospective trial date currently set at May of 2022 and looking increasingly likely that it's going to get pushed back to October or November of 2022, we're preparing our defense of liberty and financial freedoms against attempts by the state to take control of cryptocurrency by setting up the likes of Coinbase, Gemini, and Kraken as the gatekeepers of cryptocurrency. We think we must keep cryptocurrency away from the control of the federal government. It's the only way to keep them from continuing to drop bombs without consequence around the world, wreaking unbelievable devastation. So stand with us in our fight to put an end to war. Visit thecrypto6.com to learn about how you can join the fight to defund the war machine. We aren't backing down. Are you going to stand with us? Check out thecrypto6.com. In other news, though, UFOs have always been fascinating things to me. You know, I'm like, I don't want to say I'm like Mulder in the X-Files because he was a believer. I want to believe that extraterrestrials are visiting Earth simply because I recognize what a monumental thing that would be for humanity to go, oh, okay, it's time for us to stop acting like what happens on this stupid little rock actually matters. Mm-hmm. And I think that the existence of extraterrestrials would drive that point home in a way that they couldn't ignore. I mean, what bothers me is that most human beings here on planet Earth still believe they were created in the image of some all-powerful creator that put them here on purpose to do whatever the creator wanted them to do, and that they've accepted that we're not the center of the universe, but the average Christian or Muslim or Jew or whatever monotheistic religion, they still believe themselves to be at the center of the universe's creator's universe.
Yes.
And that's nonsense. I mean, we're tiny, infinitesimally small people on a tiny rock orbiting a random star in a random part of a random galaxy, and there's hundreds of billions of all of these different things.
I like what nobody thinks. Maybe he doesn't actually really think this, but he thinks this is the best thing he could come up with for the creation story for the Church of the Invisible Hand. He doesn't think that you have to believe it if you're in the church. But anyways, he said that he thinks that we were just like spiritual, extra dimension, or other dimensional beings, and we saw these monkey creatures on this planet, and we decided to hitch a ride in their bodies, and that's what we are.
I don't know that that's wrong. It's not what I believe, because I don't see any reason to believe in any of the extra dimensional or spiritual stuff, but to each their own, right?
I just think that's funny.
At any rate, I look forward to the discovery of extraterrestrial life, intelligence in particular.
I think that there's probably already been a discovery of it, but they're hiding it for some reason or another.
I always think that too.
And I would imagine it's because maybe they came here to tell us, hey, you guys are really wrecking havoc down here. You need to make some changes. Or they wanted to come here to eliminate some of the ones here on Earth for what they're doing, or, because it was causing problems where they are.
I could see why the government would have a vested interest in keeping it quiet if they did, have knowledge of extraterrestrials, but I don't think the government's very good at anything, and that would include keeping secrets. I can't imagine they could successfully keep something of that scale secret.
I don't know. Don't they say that there's supposed to be alien life form like at Area 51? Wasn't that what that was about one time? They were talking about raiding Area 51. I remember that, but I don't remember what it was for.
Well, I think some trolls were going to Naruto run at Area 51 and get,
nowhere
picked off by snipers, but
yeah.
But what was the reason behind it? Why did they want to do that?
They want to see what's there,
4chan.
yeah. See if there is life or aliens and test tubes there.
That's why they would get plucked off, because they don't want anyone to know what's actually there.
It could also be something way worse, like MK Ultra or something. I mean, that's something the government admitted to doing.
So, who was it within the U.S. government saying that these could be extra-dimensional or extraterrestrial beings?
Luis Elizondo, a former director of military's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program.
Okay. So, presumably, someone who was,
you would know.
Yeah, his job was to keep track of these unidentified objects.
Yep.
What else do they have to say?
He goes on and says, now the U.S. government considers it a credible line of inquiry to treat these unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAPs, as something extraterrestrial or even extra-dimensional, the former AATIP chief said. The former official also mentioned a possibility of the UFOs being a creation of some Earth-based intelligence that somehow managed to stay hidden from humanity all this time. Elizondo also said that he was not briefed on any successful attempts to replicate technology seen during UFO sightings by U.S. engineers. The former official also rejected the idea that the U.S. authorities have absolutely no evidence to suggest that the UFOs might be of alien origin.
Hold on, run that by me again.
The former official also rejected the idea that the U.S. authorities have absolutely no evidence to suggest that the UFOs might be of alien origin.
Okay, so his statement suggested that the U.S. government has evidence that they're of extraterrestrial origin.
That sounds that way to me, yes.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be upset to learn that, but then it raises the question of, what would these extraterrestrials' motives possibly be?
Maybe they're curious. Maybe they just want to see who we are and what we're doing.
Well, that's what humans do. When they find something they don't know, they go and they look at it. They learn more about it.
And the U.S. government was afraid, so they said, oh, crap, you're not coming here. We're going to capture you, and we're going to put you up.
If they could. I don't know that they, would be able to. I don't think our technology is anywhere near capable of what I've seen from some of these UFO videos.
It'd be really sad if the government was catching them and doing experiments on them, though, because everything I've ever heard about a Bigfoot or a skinwalker or a fairy is that they don't want to be captured and they don't want to be seen by humans. It's always oh crap, you're in my dimension, you can see me, and then they're running away type of thing. So why wouldn't an alien be different? I would think an alien would want to not get
Well, no one wants
in,
to get captured and held hostage and experimented on and tortured. No one wants that.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what the U.S. government would do. That's what any government around the world would do. Upon the discovery of extraterrestrials or a crashed extraterrestrial ship or whatever, they would learn as much information as they could.
That would make sense because they want to know what they're working with or what they're working against.
And they want to replicate that technology in order to have an advantage over other states.
Can you imagine the aliens getting us and they're like, what's wrong with this one? This one's kind of slow. I'm not sure. This one might be broken. Maybe it's a dud they sent up.
Could be.
The article continues. It says, the U.S. government has evidence indicating that the most extraordinary UFOs are not human-made machines, he told the Washington Examiner, while refusing to reveal any more information, citing security clearance obligations. It is not the first revelation Elizondo has made to the press. Earlier in June, he told the Washington Post that UFOs demonstrate a keen interest in U.S. nuclear facilities, adding that similar patterns have been observed in UFO sightings overseas in other countries.
That's crazy because that's the same thing with Bigfoots. Like, there are lots of Bigfoot sightings around nuclear facilities, government nuclear facilities.
What is a Bigfoot? Are we talking about the costume
like
that the guy wore
Sasquatch?
back when it was proven to be a hoax, and the guy who did it came out and said, "Oh yeah, that was me in the video."
I know what you're talking about, but yeah, there are people that will say that they've seen things that look like that, and it's always, really often around military nuclear facilities.
I find it exceedingly hard to believe that there's some sort of ape running around in North America that has never been photographed or videographed, and
well, they're like multi-dimensional too.
That doesn't make it any easier to believe, though. What are your thoughts? 202-380-3699. More coming up. This is Free Talk Live.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations.
allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio is great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, 202-380-3699. You're welcome to join in, talk about whatever you want. That's 202-380-3699. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria.
Angie.
And Bonnie.
And we're talking about extraterrestrials here. And, if there are extraterrestrials, it's not likely that there would be intelligent extraterrestrial life capable of communicating with us that happened to exist at the same time that its existence overlapped with ours, right? But there would still likely be some sort of trace of them, because humans, we view everything through the lens of humanity, but our whole existence is about 150,000 years at this point. And if you operate on the assumption that you're far more likely to be in the middle of your species' existence than the beginning or the end, because there's a lot more middle than there is beginning or end, then most estimates say something along the lines of humans are going to remain for another 150 to 200,000 years. And that's not a very wide time frame when we're talking about a planet that is 4.5 billion years old and a universe that is more than 13.5 billion years old. So the chances of all of these things happening concurrently is extremely low, even if they did happen at all. So I don't expect us to actually find extraterrestrials, but it would be amazing if we did. Maybe the universe is full of life.
I think that it is. I think that they know we're here and that they're watching us going, wow, those people really need some help. But we're not going down there because we don't want to get involved in it.
I tend to think that, any intelligent species that arose on a planet would be similar in its arc to humans, simply because the nature of the universe requires, predators to exist and to eat prey, and humans are predators, and that this gave us violent tendencies, which humans then turned on each other. And I tend to think that would have happened among any extraterrestrial.
Yeah, I wonder if they would have the same, greedy tendencies. I don't know. If they would actually look at us and think, wow, you people are evil. I don't know. Would they not have any... would they not be susceptible to greed and power lust?
I would hope that they would not treat their planet or their world like we do. Like they would take care of it and they would respect it and they would appreciate it, as to where, all we do is tear things up and build stuff and make things higher and put more roads down. And
continuous wars.
Yeah, exactly. Just spend more money that is pointless, that we don't need to spend.
Well, if we are being judged by extraterrestrials, I would hope that it came from a perspective of, hey, yeah, you people are lunatics, but you know what? 50,000 years ago, so were we.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Yeah, maybe they're a really advanced civilization. I don't know.
Well, they would have to be more advanced than us, like significantly more so. Even if they're just coming from the nearest star, they're traveling at speeds that we can't.
Yeah, I was like, their little machines go really fast, so
Yeah.
their UFOs move.
And if you've ever seen any of these verified, by the way, video footages of unidentified aerial phenomena as captured by, U.S. military pilots, they do move in ways that Earth ships don't. And Earth ships can't. Like full-on 90-degree sudden turns. It's insane to watch some of this.
And I would really appreciate it if there are any callers out there that have seen this or have like any information that call in and say, hey, I've seen this, or this is what the truth is, or whatever you think the truth is. You should let us know.
Yeah, were you on the show with me, or was it Captain when this guy called in and his name was like, oh, I forgot, it was like
Dr. Dickey Ghost Hunter?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, it was you.
I was here for that.
Dr. Dickey Ghost Hunter. I was like, his name was like Dr. Dirty Daddy. I don't know why I was thinking that.
I very much remember that call, and I remember giving him he made the claim that he had video evidence of the existence of ghosts and goblins
goblins.
Goblins, at the very least, ghosts. And I provided him my email address. And I said, okay, then, email it to me. And he never did. So,
Wow.
shocking.
I was
right?
waiting for, and
Yeah.
he emailed it, and it wasn't real, but.
No, I would have talked about that prior to the show.
Right.
He didn't email me at all because he has no video of ghosts because ghosts don't exist.
Well, they're hard to see, right?
Presumably, they're easier to capture on film than they are to see. But the idea of ghosts is weird to me, right? Because if they have mass, then they can be measured and studied, quantified, proven to be there because there is mass there and you can measure that. But if they don't have mass, then nothing is tethering them to the Earth, which is constantly moving around the solar system and the galaxy, and they would be left 80,000 miles that way, out drifting in space.
So you mean like if, like, say my grandma died, and I thought that I saw her shape or form at the end of my bed, and I said, oh, I saw a ghost, and that would be my grandma. You mean you don't think that those exist? Is that what you're saying? That
I do not believe that ghosts exist.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
They might. I don't believe that they don't. But at the moment, I see no reason to believe that they do.
Okay.
when I stopped being a Christian, I got really scared about the thought of death. Like, I was probably like 20 years old, and anytime I'd think about the fact that I would die one day, it would be like really scary. I think I brought that up one time. And I started reading anything I could about like near-death experiences or like people who died and came back to life. And a lot of them have really similar experiences where they see their like dead relatives and friends. And some of them, they did a whole study on groups of people who had near-death experiences where they saw dead friends that they didn't know were dead. Like, for some reason, they didn't know this person was dead. But yeah, it's like a whole subcategory. Like, somebody was like, yeah, and I saw Julie while I was like dead. And they're like, yeah, you didn't know she died while you were in surgery. Just like, I don't know.
So I had a friend who was telling me actually at Porkfest last year, and she did this tattoo, and she was telling me that every time that she sees me, she sees an old woman with me, a spirit with me. And she described her like to a T, and I was like, oh, that sounds like my granny. And she was like, yeah, she's with you all the time. She looks over you. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, that's good to know. And so it was just interesting. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I could ride in the carpool lane because, you know, granny's with me, but yeah, I don't know if that will hold up in court.
I tend to think it probably
wouldn't, not. It's a ghost. It's a ghost.
Oh, and I was Googling something. I wanted to know the Spanish word of, because I've heard lots of people who have like Mexican relatives, like my ex-husband. They've said that like in the country of Mexico, people see these goblins, and there was a name for them. I couldn't remember it.
Chupacabra?
No, it's a duende. Duende. So if anybody has ever seen it's a little goblin that runs around the countryside of Mexico. And lots of people see them.
What is a goblin?
Like a little humanoid, a little tiny thing that comes and steals your like lumber.
Is it like the thing in Gizmo, like in that little show? You know what Gizmo is? Gremlins.
Gizmo was adorable.
Yeah, right? But I remember Gizmo. Is it like a gremlin?
I guess so. I've never seen one, but I've heard lots of people
talk about it. That's what I think about.
I've never seen that movie either, Gremlins.
Gremlins 2 is definitely worth watching. I don't think I even remember the first Gremlins, but the second one's really funny.
I just remember having the little Gizmo doll.
I used to think Furbies.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I thought Furbies were from Gremlins because I never saw the movie. I was like, oh yeah, it's the thing from Gremlins.
They do look similar. Now that you mention it, I've never really thought about it, but I will say that, pareidolia is a thing, and that's where people's eyes and ears convince them that they see and hear things that aren't there. And I imagine that's the case with a lot of these experiences. There used to be one ghost hunter show in particular that I actually did like, because they would actually go in and investigate and rebuild the circumstances of the people in order to show that what looked like a shadowy figure standing over there was actually just a reflection of this doorway frame that had just been positioned this way with the exact right lighting over here. And it was really good.
So they never found any ghost in that show?
No.
Oh.
But they did definitively. Then you have these other ghost hunter shows who like run around in basements with like Blair Witch Project style, screaming how terrified they are and accomplishing absolutely nothing.
And that would be me.
Ghost hunter shows are really hit or miss, but that one, whatever it was called, was really good.
Well, I think that the government, if I was the government, I would make people not believe in magic. I think that would be my magic, or, things outside of what they wanted you to think. That would be a good strategy if I was the government.
They would just utilize magic for their own benefit.
They probably do, but they don't want you to know about it.
I don't think the U.S. government has witchcraft powers. They might, granted. But, I mean, didn't they pay people, to stare at goats?
Well, they do.
To stare at goats?
Wait, what? I don't know what you're talking about.
There was a movie called Men Who Stare at Ghosts that was supposedly based on the CIA program where they were trying to train people to kill goats by staring at them and wishing them dead.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't seem to have been successful.
Well,
it was a big hit, I guess.
Chris Reitman had told me about that the U.S. government was studying people's ability to remote view, and they got evidence that it was working.
They have
viewing.
certainly studied that in the past. I will say, however, that there is an ongoing challenge where some rich person is offering, I think, $500,000 to anyone who can definitively prove the existence of psychic abilities, and there's been no takers. So, for whatever that's worth, here's the guy with the money. He wants you to do this in a controlled ways to actually prove it's real, and no takers. 202-380-3699.
A newly recruited search and rescue officer, Marshall Hunter was resigned to a life of rescuing wayward spacefarers and derelict satellites. But when a billionaire couple goes missing, his own ship is disabled during the rescue. With communication satellites suddenly failing and lunar mineral shipments disappearing in transit, the crew suspects it's more than a coincidence, and Hunter must choose between salvation and sacrifice to save his crewmates and their civilian charges. Frontier by Patrick Childs and BingBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
He did what he came to do. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. That's what President Biden said at the conclusion of his one-on-one meeting in Geneva with Russian President Vladimir Putin. One of the main themes.
I talked about the proposition that certain critical infrastructure should be off limits to attack, period. by cyber or any other means.
And the president said he warned Putin if opposition leader Alexei Navalny should die in prison.
I made it clear to him that I believe the consequences of that would be devastating for Russia.
Putin, in his news conference, said Navalny deliberately violated laws which led to his arrest. Police in Ukraine have carried out nearly 24 raids targeting reported associates of a ransomware gang it blamed for $500 million in cyber attacks and extortion that hit the U.S. and South Korea especially hard. A framework on an infrastructure plan has been agreed to by a bipartisan group of senators.
What started out as a proposal from 10 senators now has support from 10 Democrats and 10 Republicans.
Well, I can tell you, it's not going to put any burden on the taxpayers. No burden on taxpayers.
West Virginia Democrat Joe Manchin is part of the group that met with White House officials here at the Capitol. The framework is expected to total about $953 billion over 5 years. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has indicated a two-track path to match President Biden's agenda with a bipartisan component and a second bill that could be passed with just votes from Democrats. On Capitol Hill, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
The South Carolina Supreme Court has blocked 2 executions scheduled for later this month because the State Bureau of Prisons says it hasn't been able to put together a firing squad. Under the state's new capital punishment law, inmates must choose between firing squad or electrocution if lethal injection drugs are not available. America is listening to Fox News.
Running a business shouldn't have to mean running to the post office. Skip the trip and handle it all from your home or office with Stamps.com. Join the nearly 1 million businesses using Stamps.com. Get discounts up to 40% off post office rates and now up to 66% off UPS shipping rates. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone, and enter code FOX for a 4-week trial, plus free postage and an easy-to-use digital scale. Sign up at Stamps.com. Click the microphone and enter code FOX. That's Stamps.com, code FOX.
Student debt is being erased for thousands of borrowers.
18,000 loan forgiveness claims have been approved by the Biden administration, and they'll all have one thing in common. The borrowers attended the ITT Technical Institute, a college chain that closed in 2016 after being dealt a series of sanctions by the Obama administration after making exaggerated claims about its graduates' success in finding jobs. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona says the action gives thousands of people a fresh start and the relief they deserve. The forgiveness will clear more than $500 million of debt. Pam Huso, Fox News.
The Michigan State Senate has passed legislation that would make it mandatory to produce a photo ID to vote in person and add ID requirements for people who want to vote by mail. Michigan voters without a photo ID can sign an affidavit to vote. A popular travel review site is now offering discounts for a fee.
TripAdvisor is hoping to benefit from the return to travel with a new paid membership. It's charging $99 a year for TripAdvisor Plus, a new subscription service that promises discounts on hotels, tours, attractions, rental cars, and flights. It just launched, only available in the United States. TripAdvisor says its research indicates nearly 3/4 of vaccinated U.S. travelers intend to take a summer vacation this year. More than half expect to travel domestically. Nearly a quarter want to travel outside the U.S. Jenny Cosell.
On March 16th of this year, a joint government task force raided the New Hampshire Bitcoin Embassy, the Mighty Moose Mart, the homes of Aria DiMezzo, Andy and Renee Spinella, Colleen Fordham, a grandmother, and perhaps most relevant, the studios of Free Talk Live. The Crypto Six were arrested, most were released, but Rich Paul, also known as Nobody, and Ian Freeman both remain in custody. We've been in contact with attorneys that say no crime even appears to have been committed, but that didn't stop the Joint Thug Task Force from ripping out wires from the back of our broadcast stacks, taking Free Talk Live off the air, violating our and your First Amendment rights. You can go to thecrypto6.com and donate to fight against these charges. But as importantly, contact media and tell them about this outrage. This case is likely to set precedent for the use of cryptocurrency well into the future. Help our fight for liberty and financial freedom at thecrypto6.com.
In addition to creating a Twitter account, Pope Benedict XVI plans to further connect with Christian youth by giving up on Catholicism. Quote, in order to really relate to modern teens, he needs to make religion a much smaller part of his busy life, just like they do. And it's already working. Tweets like, can someone go to church for me, LOL, hashtag sleeping in, have been retweeted over 1 million times by lazy Catholic teens, while tweets like, if God was real, how come there's so much murder, and I'm still Catholic, I just don't go to church or believe in Jesus, have been especially successful with college students who are questioning the church's teaching.
It's really cool to see that the Pope is as active on social media and as skeptical about God as I am. Look, he just tweeted, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. That's totally how I feel.
Pope Benedict's aides say his next project involves reaching out to Muslims by sitting down with Islamic leaders and proclaiming his undying allegiance to Allah.
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, 202-380-3699. If you want to join the discussion, that's 202-380-3699. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria.
Angie.
And Bonnie.
And I want to tell you about Bitcoin.com. It's the place to go to learn about cryptocurrency, whether you're new to Bitcoin or whether you're, a Bitcoin expert going back for the last 10 years. There's still something for you at Bitcoin.com. If you don't know anything about it, if somehow you still don't know anything about Bitcoin, well, they have videos there that in just a few short minutes will teach you the basics. And, of course, there's a lot to learn beyond the basics, but this will help you get started. So check that out at Bitcoin.com. It's all on a sleek, easy-to-use, modern website. And if you already are knowledgeable about cryptocurrency, they still have news. I mean, there's constantly news items in the cryptocurrency world. News.bitcoin.com gathers them, writes about them. It's your source for everything about cryptocurrency. Bitcoin.com. With you tonight, I think I did this a moment ago.
We did.
I was distracted. I have to order something for that, and I was doing that during the break and then had to talk.
That's okay. We're still here.
So extraterrestrials are in the news, and I have a related story from Fox News, of all people. I mean, obviously. I learned tonight that MSNBC, in addition to just being terrible at having news in general, they also won't allow me to use their site as long as I'm using an ad blocker, and I'm not going to turn it off.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't either.
Screw them. Fox News gives me a warning saying, hey, we noticed you're using an ad blocker. I mean, click this to make the window go away, but it would sure be nice if you disabled it. I'm not disabling it. Capitol Hill lawmakers said Wednesday that UFOs could pose a pressing threat to America's national security as the polls emerge. P-O-L-S? Politicians, I guess?
P-O-L-S?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've never seen anyone actually shorten politician in a serious way to be polls. But whatever. As the politicians emerge from a highly classified briefing with Navy and FBI officials on the unexplained phenomena. Ahead of the release of a highly anticipated Pentagon report on unidentified flying objects before the month's end, members of the House Intelligence Committee received a hush-hush sneak preview inside a CIF, or Sensitive Compartmented Information Facility. As for the existence of extraterrestrial life, the lawmakers largely left the secrets inside the surveillance-proof room, declining to tell reporters what they learned. Well, that's certainly not going to raise anyone's alarm bells. I mean, if they learned that there were no extraterrestrials, wouldn't they say that?
Well, maybe they didn't want to say either way. Maybe they had it planned before they ever went in that they weren't going to say one way or another. So that whatever happened, they already had a plan.
That's probably what they did, but denying, if they could say, no, these are definitely not extraterrestrials, it seems like that would do people a lot of good to hear.
But they probably have no idea.
That's also valid.
Mm-hmm. They don't like doing people good.
Well, they say they do, though, right? And it's an easy argument to make. Hey, look, if you know there aren't extraterrestrials, then say that. Instead, they say, well, we have no comment. But some did voice concerns that the UFOs, which may be espionage assets controlled by Americans' foreign adversaries, that doesn't seem likely, in a possible explanation just slightly less terrifying than the vanguard of an alien invasion, could pose a danger to national security. We take the issue of unexplained aerial phenomena seriously to the extent that we're dealing with the safety and security of U.S. military personnel or the national security interests of the United States. So we want to know what we're dealing with, said Representative Sean Patrick Maloney. I think it's important to understand that there are legitimate questions involving the safety and security of our personnel, and they just go on and on about that. There's not much. It's just a lot of quoting them, talking about how important it is to keep the military safe. They say they're looking forward to having a public hearing at some point.
It's important to keep the military safe, but yes, we're going to fund both sides of wars and send them to wars over oil.
Yeah, it's stupid, right? And they bring up national security just an alarming number of times in this article. The stigma is gone, said Mike Quigley. Now that's, I would hate to have that last name.
Quigley.
Yeah. Now that's as big a change in policy as I've witnessed about this issue in my lifetime. So the fact that they are taking this sort of thing seriously for the first time, I think that's important. I mean, I would agree throughout most of my life, UFOs, I mean, they've even changed the term because the term UFO just has so much baggage attached to it. But there's always been talk of UFO, and it's just been kooky people who talk about it. Right? But then
maybe that's because the aliens have chosen to go to the kooky people because they believe. And they're like, oh, this one might be okay.
That could be the case, but it's more accepted now to talk about. I still use the term UFO because, I mean, it is an unidentified flying object. I'm not saying that it's extraterrestrial in origin, but it is by definition a UFO.
Yes.
I don't think that redefining it to unidentified aerial phenomena is necessarily more helpful.
What is it, UAP?
Yeah.
That's so much harder to remember for some reason. Like, every time somebody says it's been renamed, I'm like, what was it, though? I can't, like, ATF or something. I don't know.
Well, they mean literally the same thing.
Yep.
Only they say aerial instead of flying and phenomena instead of object. But it's literally exactly the same term.
Aerial makes me think swimming, like the mermaid.
Oh.
From Little Mermaid. I love it.
Referencing the 1997 sci-fi flick Contact, adapted from a Carl Sagan novel, let's get back into your article. This is just Fox News. There was no point whatsoever in them taking the time to write this or publish it to their site. I learned absolutely nothing from that article, except that, there was a hearing, and they're not saying what was talked about.
Surprise.
Yeah. No, that was not helpful, Fox.
Me and Ian read an article that was supposed to be about, I think it was the same thing, but we thought it was going to go into some new government report that was coming out, and then the article was just saying there's going to be a government report about UFOs, and I never heard anything else about it.
Yeah, the Pentagon is supposedly releasing said report before the end of the month.
Oh, okay.
But that's the only useful thing I got out of this entire Fox News article that was quoting representatives and senators. And
that report is going to tell us if they exist or they do not?
Well, we know that unidentified aerial phenomena exist.
No, but if there is aliens on them, or are they just going to say, oh, they're from Russia?
If there are extraterrestrials involved here and the U.S. government knows that, I don't think they're going to drop that hammer on people at this time.
Well,
they might.
That's too bad. We just came out of a pandemic. Why not?
It's so strange to me to think that we have to learn this through these politician people. Like, why can't we learn it, through scientists?
That would make more sense, right? But the scientists aren't the ones out there flying the jets that are encountering these phenomena. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's it. But we do have weird stuff coming out of NASA occasionally, like them cutting the video feed and say, oh no, it was just this weird glitch that occurred. And I don't remember the details about this, but there was some cause to believe that the feed had been cut intentionally because something had flown into view that they didn't want to be seen. But there's all sorts of audio clips of astronauts talking back to NASA, and suddenly NASA says something like, switch to effectively code speak. They say it differently, but that's what you hear. And then suddenly the astronauts start speaking in entirely different ways.
Different languages?
No,
that's interesting.
They're
I'd
still
never heard
speaking
that.
English, but it becomes very, very clear immediately that they're using highly coded language to convey a message instead of just saying, oh yeah, there seems to be something on the ship.
Weird.
I mean, and I don't know whether or not any of these are legitimate or, fake.
But it's
fascinating.
Is NASA government, or is it just basically funded by the government?
I think they're government. Well, they're at least funded by the government, but it's they're not owned by the military, and I think the military wants to own NASA. But NASA's mission supposedly is science and not military.
So is NASA privately owned and they're just funded by the government?
No, they are a government agency.
Okay.
As far as I know. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know.
Well, look it up.
But I can't just Google stuff.
Yeah, I'll Google it.
What are your thoughts? 202, maybe you know. Is NASA just a government agency or a agency that was created by the government? Is there even a difference? 202-380-3699. More coming up. This is Free Talk Live.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
The Terran Federation and the Terran League have been killing each other for decades. Sheltered, wealthy, and light years from the threat, the members of the 500 have no interest in changing that. When Rear Admiral Terrence Murphy is given governorship of a backwater system, a risk-free path to wealth and power is his for the taking. But Murphy is a man of honor, duty, and responsibility. He intends to stop the killing, whatever the cost. Governor, by David Weber and Richard Fox, from BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, Use it. Spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, 202-380-3699. Angie, this is your last week for a while of being here in the studio for Free Talk Live. Of course, we'll be doing the show from the festival, but did you wait to leave tomorrow so that you could do one more episode of the show?
No, we actually, that would have been great though, wouldn't it? No.
Well, I wasn't sure because there was some confusion about whether or not you were even in town, and it seemed that you just like, screw it, I'm going up now.
Yeah, I wanted to.
No one would blame you.
But we have a farm, so I had to have coverage for the animals. We're leaving on Friday morning.
Okay, I thought it was the 17th that you were going up.
No, the 18th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're talking about Fork Fest, which is coming up. The Porcupine Freedom Festival officially starts in 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
Fork Fest unofficially starts in 5 days as well because it's running concurrently with the Porcupine Freedom Festival. But anyway, Fork Fest by itself is June the 28th through July the 4th at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. And, I'm itching to go there and be there and to do it. That was how I first came to New Hampshire, was that someone invited me up to the Porcupine Freedom Festival because they had free tickets and they needed some help vending. This was Will Coley of Muslims for Liberty. I didn't know anything about the Free State Project. I didn't know anything about Fork Fest or the Porcupine Freedom Festival. I didn't even know who Ian Freeman was. I just knew, okay, sure, I've got nothing to do this summer. Might as well. Right?
I remember seeing you that year that you were there, and I was fascinated by you, and I was like, who is that? Who is that? And like nobody really knew a lot about you, and I was like, well, who does she come with? And I thought that you were dating Will, and they were like, nope, I don't think so. I think it's just a helper. And I was like, oh, okay, because then I met his wife, and I was like, I'm a little confused.
Yeah, just friends, and I didn't even know about Fork Fest. But as it happens, that was the first year of Fork Fest, so I got to be there for that. That was great. But that was, and then 3 years ago, as of I think the 21st, I came to Fork Fest, and I just didn't leave New Hampshire after that.
I get it.
So I'm itching to go back to where it all started, and that's June the 28th through July the 4th. You got to come check it out. No one's in charge. There's no ticket cost. It's just libertarians hanging out and having a good time. And there's no real activism going on there or anything like that. I mean, there's sharing of ideas and all of that awesome stuff, but it's not like we're going there to accomplish anything or have seminars or anything. Some people might be, but that we don't really know what they're planning, but it's not likely that people are planning seminars for Fork Fest. It's a party. That's why the website is forkfest.party. Check it out, forkfest.party. I can't wait. I've been looking forward to it for essentially since the end of Fork Fest last year, if I'm being honest. But let's go to the phones. We got Brian calling from Pennsylvania. Brian, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, what's on your mind?
Yeah, so you guys talk a lot about Bitcoin. So I heard about one of some of your hosts or whatever got in trouble with like the feds coming in and whatever over Bitcoin or like molesting children or whatever. But like,
well, hold on,
big difference.
Hold on, because there is a lot to unpack there. I was one of these hosts.
Whoa! I have a question.
Well, I want to clarify the situation for you. I was one of these people.
All right, let me clarify. Let me clarify what I said.
Well, I'm going to put you on hold, so just sit tight for a moment. I want to clarify the situation. There were 3 hosts of Free Talk Live who were indicted by the federal government in matters related to cryptocurrency, namely Bitcoin. There was, like 5 years ago, another raid on the Free Talk Live studio where they were searching for child pornography, and they found absolutely none. It's a complete bogus story, and it was a result of the FBI being upset at Free Talk Live.
And it was dropped.
And and all of that was ultimately dropped. In fact, they've started returning the equipment that they took from people because it was bogus from the start. So go ahead with your question.
Yeah, no. So Bitcoin scams, child molesting, whatever it was.
But there's a pretty big difference between those two things.
He knows that.
I'm sure he does.
I don't think he's even still with us anymore.
Boy.
Anyway, Brian, I think we lost him. Thanks for the
okay.
call. It gave us because I've seen that over and over and over in news articles or just on the internet. Isn't this the guy who had child pornography or was a child molester or whatever? No. First of all, most of these people who are talking about the case against the Crypto 6 haven't even bothered to look at the freaking indictment.
No, they have no idea what they're talking about.
They're just baselessly speculating what they think may or may not have occurred based on something they may or may not have read on WMUR or in the Keene Sentinel. The indictment is publicly available. Anyone who's curious can go and look at it. Mm-hmm. It's not secretive, and there's nothing in it about child pornography. And at least one of these news stories that I happened to see did mention the previous raid about child pornography, which, again, was like 5 years ago. They've had plenty of time to go through everything they seized, and they found not a trace of child pornography.
They didn't even go through one of the computers they seized because it was in a sealed and dated evidence bag.
Well, we don't... I wouldn't put it past them to lie. I mean, cops lie all the time. If they want to make you think they didn't go through it, it's not hard to seal it in a bag and post-date it. Or
That's true.
predate it, I guess.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't necessarily trust that, but they knew they weren't going to find child pornography in the first place. That was a targeted attack in order to silence Free Talk Live, who who had just broken the story about the FBI distributing child pornography.
And that's a fact.
Yes. And in fact, they were the largest distributor of child pornography in, I think, the year 2018.
So people who want to be all, up in arms because they think this lie about Ian that he had CP on his computer and are just, I'm just going to ignore the fact that the government was running Playpen, the biggest CP website on the dark web.
Well, they weren't just running Playpen. They're running several of these child pornography distribution sites.
Wow, I didn't know that.
They're the largest child porn distributor on the planet.
I knew they added more servers to the website too. I didn't know there was more than one.
To better
website.
serve out that child porn. Way
Make
to go,
faster.
FBI. I mean, and these are the people who are accusing us of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ones who are distributing child porn. You can accuse me of a lot, but you can't accuse me of that.
Yep.
And that's a pretty big deal, in my opinion, for the FBI to be doing that. That's extremely immoral. There are some things that you're just not going to be able to justify morally. And I think that tends to be one of them. They're supposedly distributing child pornography to people in order to end the distribution of child pornography. And in the course of doing this, they became literally the largest producer or distributor of child pornography on the planet.
Which makes child pornography more valuable, which would make more people want to put kids in movies.
Yeah, knowing that you have someone as powerful as the FBI to distribute those movies for you, perhaps. It's absolutely insane, though, and none of that ever went anywhere. You will have more luck trying to make the baseless argument that Ian allows Nazis on his show, because I've seen that as well. Isn't this the guy who has the podcast that lets Nazis come on? It's like, okay, first of all, you literally don't even know what you're talking about. There is a podcast of the show, but it's not a podcast. It's a radio show. And if you don't even know that basic level of information, just shut up.
And he fired Chris Campbell.
202-380-3699. It's Free Talk Live.
Hey guys, Mark Claire here, lionsofliberty.com, where we strive to advance the ideas of liberty daily. We bring you the Morning Roar. That's right, every Monday to Friday we'll have a brand new edition of the Morning Roar, where we provide a roundup of some news stories that you may not find in the mainstream media or even in your typical social media newsfeed. We find stories that relate to the ideas of liberty and provide you with our liberty perspective on them. Every Monday, we have our longest-running feature, Mondays with Murray, named after the great libertarian Murray Rothbard, where we'll examine an article or an excerpt from his works and help convey his view, along with our little spin as well. We wrap it all up every Friday with Felony Friday, where our own John Odermatt goes out and takes a look at some sort of felony. There's felonies committed every day, you know, whether it's a felony committed by the police, a politician, or even an average citizen. You can find all of this and so much more over at lionsofliberty.com, advancing the ideas of liberty daily.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, 202-380-3699. If you want to join the discussion, that's 202-380-3699. With you on this Wednesday night edition of Free Talk Live, which is She Talk Live, it's Aria,
Angie,
and Bonnie.
And let's go to the phones. We've got Matt calling from the front porch of the place that I'm currently not allowed to go. Matt, what's on your mind tonight?
Am I on? Hey, Ari. Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Hey, Matt.
Hi, She Talk Live.
Hey.
So I'm calling to talk about. I'm calling to talk about alien stuff.
Okay.
I love that you brought that up on the show. I wish you brought it up on Thursday, which is my night, so we could talk about it. Maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow night too.
I'm not there on Thursdays.
Oh, that's true. But just for the listeners, I am on Thursday nights on Free Talk Live, and we can talk about paranormal stuff all day long. But I am witness to about 30 different UFOs of the scariest, closest ones were the ones that I've seen since I've moved to New Hampshire.
Really? You've seen them here in Keene
yeah.
or in other parts of New Hampshire?
Yes. Well, I had one right over my head, right coming back into Keene from Walpole when I worked up in Walpole. That was really, really freaky, and I'll tell you all about it someday.
Is Walpole, would you get to Walpole from, Washington Street, or which direction is that?
You would go toward my place.
Yeah, towards Angie's house.
And then just keep going straight.
But it was actually on the way back from Angie's house. So right by Smith Medical, where the city Keene limit is, where it was. But just to answer Bonnie's question, NASA stands for National Aeronautics and Space Administration. It is an independent government agency, whatever that is.
Okay.
Basically, the taxpayers pay for it. What we call it in the UFO world is never a straight answer. So, and Arya, you said something about how kooks used to be the ones that believed in UFOs. Considering all this stuff that the conspiracy theorists have been saying lately coming true, I think it's time we start paying closer attention to what the conspiracy theorists are saying than the people who are calling them conspiracy theorists in the first place.
I don't disagree. I may have phrased it poorly. What I meant was, 30 years or just 15 years ago, if you believed in the existence of UFOs, you were considered to be a kook. Mm-hmm. But that isn't the case today.
Well, I don't think so. I wonder if that's true because, you got to remember the word conspiracy theorist, the term conspiracy theorist was actually invented by the feds so that people would be more willing to dismiss anybody asking questions about the JFK assassination.
It's funny because the feds are currently literally theorizing a conspiracy about the Crypto 6. They're literally conspiracy theorists.
They are the conspiracy theorists, and they've got everything turned around. The thing is, they have more marketing ability. They can tell the 6 o'clock evening news guy to say something disparaging about people believing a certain way, and next thing you know, the entire public opinion is turned against those people thinking that certain way.
Matt, so, I assume you've seen some of these media compilations where it shows just various news anchors from various parts of the United States all saying exactly the same things in exactly the same ways.
They're literally puppets, right?
Yeah, it certainly seems that way.
Yeah, they're what do you call them, minarets? They're on strings, and they just get told what to say, and they say it. Like cops just get told what to do, and they do it. The guys that raided our place, all they knew is that they were getting paid triple time, and they might get to kill somebody today. So this is the type of people that make up the government and news establishment, if you will. Yeah. And it doesn't surprise me. There's a lot of them, and sadly, there's a whole bunch of people. There's a sucker born every minute, right? And there's a lot of minutes. So
Matt, I have a question.
There's a lot of people out there who are easily persuaded to think whatever they're told. What's that, Angie?
When you said you've had 30 encounters with UFOs, or you've seen them, how do you know that that's what they were above you? How did you determine that that's what they were?
Well, when I first just for one, because they do things that a human design craft simply can't do. If there were a human pilot in that thing and it made the maneuvers that it was making with a human pilot in it, it would liquefy that person.
Have they always been at night?
No. Actually, when I moved to New Hampshire, when I first moved to New Hampshire, we lived up on a hill in Fitzwilliam, way up on a hill in Fitzwilliam. You go down over the Massachusetts, the Berkshires, and Mass was out there. Vermont was on the right. Mass was in the south. And there was a resident UFO, and you could see it often. And a lot of people did. A lot of our guests and all the Free Staters would come, and they'd stare at him like, what is that? It's a UFO. No, it's not. Yes, it is. And it would sit there and just kind of tumble. So, yeah, that would usually be, you could see that in the middle of the day around noon, but usually you'd see it at 3, 4, 5, 6 in the afternoon. Sometimes it'd be out there late at night, and it would move over towards Brattleboro and back down towards Athol. And so, yeah, daytime, nighttime. I think most people just don't look up. When I was a kid, I wanted to see a UFO so bad. I was so intrigued by it. I never saw one. I spent my entire childhood becoming an expert at airplanes because that's all I ever saw. And then one day when I was about 35, I was coming out of work, and with my assistant right behind me, I locked up the place behind me, middle of the night, 10 o'clock at night. And there were 18 blinking lights on the horizon right in front of us, and just sitting there doing nothing, acting very strange. And we stared at them for a long time. And
Matt, it seems like a lot of
I don't
these
wanna talk
places
about that.
prefer to, a lot of these places are wilderness areas where these sightings occur. And it seems like Rogers
I think you have a
Campground,
better view of the sky.
yeah, because there's less light pollution and all of that. It seems like Rogers Campground would be a pretty good spot for this. I think last year people were actually able to see the white of the Milky Way out there.
Yep.
Are you planning on going to
and you
Fork
may-
Fest, and have you ever seen anything there?
I haven't seen anything there. But, well, I'll run this past you. I've actually seen a lot more than 30 UFOs. I've seen, I don't know, hundreds, because I used to hunt coyotes, right? And I'd lay on my back in the middle of the night with my AR-15, and I had a night vision scope on it, and I would point it up at the sky, because there's no dogs, and it's just a dead night, and I'm just basically out there meditating at this point. And you point the night vision at the sky, and if you've ever pointed night vision at the night sky, you get to see about 20, 30 times more stars than you see regularly.
I did not know that.
One thing, because it just amplifies everything that's out there, including the stuff you can't see with the naked eye. It's all night vision does. So when you're pointing those at the sky and you're looking through it at night, and you'll see like satellites go over, and you'll see planes go by, and they're really bright. But every once in a while, you'll see something that looks like a satellite, and then it'll stop, and then it'll kind of hang a right. That doesn't happen in space. You can't do that in space. And at that distance, stopping and hanging a right is probably going from 50,000 miles an hour to zero in a few seconds, and then back up to 50,000 miles an hour in another couple seconds. So to be able to do that, no human invention is doing that. I'm not an expert at airplanes, but I know my way around an airplane. I know a lot about the space shuttle and the space station. I love space. I'm intrigued to no end with the moon and Mars, and I've done my homework about astronomy and outer space and things, and I love it. And I'm telling you, we have nothing that can do what I've seen done by these things.
I mean, I
there's a
agree
bunch
with
of
that
different ones.
assessment, and I see no reason to believe otherwise, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're extraterrestrial.
It doesn't, and for that matter, those could be a very intelligent life form that were born and raised right here on Earth and always were here. They just stay hidden. Who knows? Maybe there is I don't think the Earth's hollow because we have so much gravity. There's got to be a ball of iron in the middle, just like scientists say there is. I would think so.
Maybe they're on the other
but who
side of the
knows?
moon.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for the call. You didn't answer the question. Answer the question real quick. Are you going to be at Fork Fest this year?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Well, maybe we'll see something there. I certainly don't think that I've ever seen a UFO or a flying object that I couldn't identify and be reasonably certain was some sort of plane or something. But, Matt's right. I don't spend a lot of time looking up, especially at night. I'm in here doing something or not sitting outside looking up to see if I see anything. So 202-380-3699. It's Free Talk Live.
There is no such thing as attention span, according to Jerry Seinfeld, who figures that people have an infinite attention span if you are entertaining them. Hey, he's kept us from channel surfing for several decades, and now he's making more millions as a Las Vegas headliner. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important, especially if you're looking for work. So choose every single word as though it was the last word the person you're speaking to will hear. Otherwise, it might be. Avoid redundancies such as added bonus, advance warning, end result, prior history, or personal belongings. And avoid cliches like the plague. Just kidding. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live.
So that's what government does, right? It's a tool of force. It's a coercive monopoly. It's a violent monopoly. And whoever is in charge gets to wield it to their benefit. They get to promote their views and force them down the throat of everybody else. They get to extract money from everybody and use it to benefit their friends.
Let's outlaw democracy instead of outlawing Islam.
That would make more sense. Outlawing government would make more sense than trying to ban people from coming to what at one time was the greatest plot of land on the entire earth. I don't know if it can make that. I don't know if it can make that claim anymore.
But the evidence is that it cannot claim to be the freest, economically freest country in Earth. All you have to do is look at the Conservative Heritage Foundation's numbers. And you can go to freetheworld.com, look there too. The fact is, the United States, not the freest country in the world. Sorry.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern. Live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, 202-380-3699. If you want to join the discussion, you're welcome to take control of the airwaves, because that's what we do here on Free Talk Live. We empower you to talk about whatever is on your mind and get that message out there onto 200-ish radio stations, as well as on the internet and our podcasts and all sorts of other places. And if you value that, if you think it's useful, you might consider joining the AMP program. You can find it at amp.freetalklive.com. It's money that is used strictly to advertise, market, and promote Free Talk Live. It only takes $5 per month to join it. And Libertarian Banker is tonight's amplifier, but Libertarian Banker chooses to give more than just $5 per month, and we appreciate that. Libertarian Banker does $10 per month and is a gold level member. So there are tiers if you really, really like the show and you want to give more. That option is certainly there. So check it out, amp.freetalklive.com. Help us get on more radio stations, reach larger audiences, and all of that fantastic stuff. The AMP program is what makes that possible. There's also a number of cool little perks, like an AMP-only group in the Matrix server and an AMP-only Facebook group that I don't think anyone's really using, but maybe someone is. But that shouldn't be the reason you join. The reason you should join would be that you like Free Talk Live and you want to reach a larger audience. So thank you so much, Libertarian Banker, for your contributions. I hope you're enjoying the show. And let's go to the phones. We've got Seth calling. Seth, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yes, hello.
Hey, what's on your mind tonight?
Hello. So I'd like to talk about pedophilia through the Jewish perspective. And I noticed you were talking about pedophilia earlier. From what I've seen, anti-pedophilia is rooted in anti-Semitism. It is rooted in anti-Semitism.
Can I ask,
how so?
Are you a Jew? Sorry.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
How is it rooted in anti-Semitism?
Oh, okay, so the rabbis practice, especially the Orthodox ones, when they circumcise babies, they have a practice where they suck the blood.
Oh, you said suck. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Seth.
All right, sorry. When did I cut off?
Where they suck the blood. I've heard of this. They take the blood into their mouths.
Yes, of course. And
Is that
so,
true?
Yes, especially in the
Bonnie,
Orthodox
Bonnie
community.
nodded.
It's a
No one
very
listening can
defended
see that.
practice.
Okay. That's a bit gross.
But many Nazis will slam the Jewish community for doing this practice, and Jews disproportionately are pedophiles, and it is that's why I say that anti-pedophilia is rooted in anti-Semitism. So I just like to drive that
I don't
point
think
home.
that would make them pedophiles just because they do it's called oral suction circumcision. I haven't found anything about,
Well, no.
It's
no.
a symbol of the Jews' covenant with God. It's not sexual.
Well, in the Talmud, it is permissible for a Jew to marry a 3-year-old. And so that is something that us Jews, especially the Orthodox, hold true.
Not having...
excuse me, are you a Jew?
I'm not convinced that you're a Jew.
She's read the Torah.
Anyway, Seth, thank you so much for the call tonight. I don't know how to respond to that. I don't know where the whole Jews are disproportionately pedophiles thing came from, whether or not he had any statistics to back that up. I have to imagine he probably doesn't. Because you just don't hear about that many pedophiles being Jews. It's usually, some creepy 60-year-old grandfather up the street in, Dublin or whatever. It's not generally, this Jew got in trouble for it. Well, maybe they wouldn't call attention to the fact, but this is just a strange call.
They might have enough money to get out of it without the attention.
That could be as well. I don't think there's anything in any part of Jewish law that allows a man to marry a 3-year-old.
No, I don't think that would be the case either.
Yeah, I have certainly never heard of that. But let's keep going, because we've got David calling from San Francisco. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, Jorge, I was interested in Bitcoin, but just as to kind of back you up about the pedophile junk, if you know about rape, they say that rape is not a sexual thing, it's a power thing. And pedophiles typically are people who got beaten as children and are in some way trying to get even. And so it's just a nasty mess where beating your children are going to lead to pedophilia or lead to rape and lead to rapists.
I mean, the best case scenario seems to be for a kid who was beaten, the best case scenario seems to be that they end up either perpetuating that and beating their own children, or, especially in the case of females, they become convinced that their boyfriend or their husband or whoever doesn't actually love them unless they're beating the hell out of them.
Yeah, it's a strange, and it's very strange that I can't even imagine why that previous caller came up with that junk. But I was more interested in the Bitcoin. As I understand it, I was reading an article 6 or 8 months ago about Bitcoin and the amount of power, the electricity that they use for the mining. And part of the article mentioned that I think there were 6 different coal-fired plants in northern China that were being used for Bitcoin mining. Apparently, the contracts on those plants made it cheaper to use Chinese electricity than, good old all-American electricity. But there's a couple of days ago, a nuclear power plant down near Hong Kong, which is way south in China, started to have some performance problems. And now, just in the last few hours, the Chinese have admitted that there were some fuel rods that are damaged and that the company that has been contracted to handle the safety issues of it contacted the U.S. government asking for emergency advice. And it's gotten into a kind of a foreign policy issue because the Chinese electrical grid is not considered something that's considered safe by the U.S. government. So that if the U.S. government gets involved with giving advice to the Chinese grid, it could be a strategic
where are you going with this,
foreign
David?
policy. Well, I'm just worried that people down in Hong Kong are great Bitcoin miners. And whether part of the problem with this nuclear plant is they still haven't shut it down because they're saying there's so much need for electricity in Hong Kong and that southern region that they can't shut the plant down. And so I'm worried that Bitcoin power grid is being used in this nuclear power plant, and that the excuse to develop more value is leading it to they are refusing to shut down the power plant because of
It's not your power plant. What do you care? Do you live in Hong Kong?
Well, 40 million people live near there.
Did the people
right?
of Hong Kong want the power plant shut down?
I hope you're not saying that leave a dangerous situation go because some greedheads want to create Bitcoin.
It's illegal. I don't know that there's any reason to believe that the situation is dangerous. Nuclear energy is the safest form of energy and the safest and cleanest form of energy we've yet determined.
It's illegal to mine Bitcoin in China now. So
not Hong Kong though.
Oh yeah, but he was saying in China there was like these 6 coal power plants. Those have probably been shut down if it's not in Hong Kong. Because
is it illegal to mine cryptocurrency in China? I know it's illegal for a brick and mortar business to sell cryptocurrency to people.
That was the new thing, was that mining became illegal. I mean, obviously there's probably underground people doing it, but it's harder to do underground things in China than it is in the United States.
David, thank you so much for the call tonight. I don't see any reason to believe that a nuclear power plant near Hong Kong is really a problem. I mean, there are a lot of nuclear power plants currently functioning around the world, and the last time we heard of any sort of issue with one was the one in Japan in 2007.
I remember that.
And that's going to create some major long-term issues for humanity at some point of view. Just watch a documentary about that one at some point. I mean, that was a problem that was never dealt with. And it's going to be a problem that has to be dealt with at some point in the future for human beings.
I looked it up, and it was just the Yunnan part of China. Sorry, Yunnan province in China was the one clamping down on Bitcoin mining. So maybe not all of China.
At any rate, I mean, I don't think Bitcoin mining is as big a problem as certain media outlets have made it to be. Sure, there are better ways of solving these problems than proof of work. I would suggest proof of stake or something, but it's not perfect. 202-380-3699.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
All business. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Biden is headed back to Washington after his hours-long meeting in Geneva with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The president, at a news conference after the meeting, said there was cordial discussions about a number of issues facing both nations.
President Biden called the discussion with President Putin good after touching on many issues. For example,
we discussed in detail the next steps our country should take on arms control measures. The steps we need to take to reduce the risk of unintended conflict.
Dissident Alexei Navalny's plight was also not off the table for Biden during the meeting.
We'll continue to raise issues of fundamental human rights.
The president says the baseline has been set to deal with Russia, and he intends for the dialogue to continue. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
10 Republican and 10 Democrat senators have agreed on a framework for an infrastructure plan. In a statement, the group says they look forward to continuing to work on legislation based on it to address America's critical infrastructure challenges. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says the state is going to use its own funds to build a border wall.
Texans on the border are suffering through a humanitarian crisis by having their lives disrupted with guns and gangs and being riddled with crime. It's Texans that we have a responsibility as leaders in this state to step up and address their humanitarian crisis.
The state has put down a $250 million down payment. The Dallas Morning News reports the money is coming from the Criminal Justice Department. Critics have questioned the state's authority to venture into immigration regulation. Prosecutors in Minnesota filed court documents rejecting arguments by the lawyers for Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer convicted of killing George Floyd, that Chauvin should get a new trial due to pre-trial publicity. It's not clear when a judge will rule on the appeal. Chauvin's expected to be sentenced later this month. America is listening to Fox News.
Running a business shouldn't have to mean running to the post office. Skip the trip and handle it all from your home or office with Stamps.com. Join the nearly 1 million businesses using Stamps.com. Get discounts up to 40% off post office rates and now up to 66% off UPS shipping rates. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone, and enter code FOX for a 4-week trial, plus free postage and an easy-to-use digital scale. Sign up at Stamps.com. Click the microphone and enter code FOX. That's Stamps.com, code FOX.
The Justice Department and Treasury Department are investigating how tax information of wealthy Americans was made public.
The FBI has opened an investigation into IRS tax information that showed the tax returns of thousands of the wealthiest Americans that was published by news outlet ProPublica. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told a Senate panel the situation is serious.
But we're only 1 week out on this, and I really want to emphasize we do not know what happened.
Yellen told lawmakers she is committed to taking steps to safeguard taxpayer data. In addition to the Justice Department, Yellen says the matter was also referred to Treasury's Inspector General. On Capitol Hill, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
A milestone in the fight against Alzheimer's disease. A U.S. hospital gave the first infusion of an expensive and controversial drug.
The drug is called Aduhelm, and the first patient to receive it outside of a clinical trial was Mark Archambault, a 70-year-old realtor from Wakefield, Rhode Island. Dr. Stephen Salloway is the neurology director at Butler Hospital in Providence.
People will be coming monthly without a built-in termination point.
The drug, manufactured by Biogen, is taken by infusion, and it is expensive. It costs $56,000 a year, an amount the Alzheimer's Association says is unacceptable. Salloway explained why it's so expensive.
Monoclonal antibodies are biologics that tend to be expensive. This is our first experience with them in Alzheimer's.
Rob Dawson, Fox.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
After briefly reviewing several documents outlining his parents' dire financial circumstances today, 23-year-old Wesleyan University graduate Zach Wallace told reporters he had, quote, absolutely no clue how his mother and father are going to dig themselves out of the $35,000 of student loan debt they incurred to pay for his college education.
I mean, this is going to be really hard on my parents. When I was in college, I just assumed that, they would pay off my student loans within a few years of me graduating. But I never realized how expensive college is going to be for them.
Wallace, who graduated with a film studies degree in 2012 and has since had 2 unpaid internships, told reporters that from the way prevailing interest rates are trending, his parents could easily be paying off his debt for the next quarter century.
They're going to be paying for the rest of their lives. And on top of it all, they have to help me out with my rent, too. I mean, it sucks. It really, really sucks.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, 202-380-3699. If you want to join the conversation, that's 202-380-3699. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria,
Angie,
and Bonnie.
And we've been talking largely about UFOs and extraterrestrials, and then, what was almost certainly a troll occurred. That happens quite a lot. Fair warning to everyone, we do in fact have this thing called a dump button. That if you say something stupid that shouldn't get out on radio, we press this button and it goes away. It still goes out on the streams if they care about that. But it actually wouldn't be that hard, especially from this studio with the way everything is set up, to put the audio that's going out behind the dump button as well. It's just not a priority to me because I don't care if it goes out on Twitch and D Live and stuff. Because like when I do gaming streams, I regularly swear on Twitch and D Live because they don't care. There's no FCC involved. I don't care. It's more like normal conversation, I guess, for me. So yeah. Anyway, let's go to those phones. We've got Daniel calling from Austin. Daniel, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, y'all. Good to talk to you.
What's on your mind tonight?
That guy seemed like a troll, but then I wondered if he was about to come out as pro-child molestation and, use your platform to come out of the closet. I don't know. That was weird.
That was weird.
It was a very weird call. He was arguing, for those who just are now tuning in, he was arguing that being anti-pedophilia is anti-Semitic, and he never really made any clear connection to those things, but he did assert that he was a Jew, and he said that most pedophiles are Jews. So it certainly did seem like he was gearing up to make some sort of confession, but I don't think the guy was actually Jewish in the first place. So
you might be right. Yeah. And just to briefly address the other guy, the biggest problem with the Chinese power plant, I mean, if it is going to turn into a problem, is not Bitcoin mining, but the fact that Washington, D.C. has China on a list that says that they can't get the parts that they need without approval. So if something's going wrong, it's going to take, it's going to take a lot of extra hoops and stuff to jump through to get the right parts to fix that leak if they're using any U.S. technology.
Is that because of tariffs?
Previously, it's because of, I guess, just because of China's, status as a communist country, and
because the U.S. government just doesn't like China.
Right, they're on what's called an entity list that bars them from obtaining U.S. technology, which is obviously stupid.
Well, if that's the case, it would be unwise of them to use U.S. technology in their power plant. So hopefully they wouldn't do that. But it says you want to talk about the Porcupine Freedom Festival.
I would like to talk about Fork Fest. I haven't been up there. I've known a bunch of people who've gone in the past, but I guess so. I'm just now hearing about Fork Fest too, and so if I was going to pick one or the other, what do you guys think?
Well, this year the Porcupine Freedom Festival is sold out, so it's not an option. I guess you could get a day pass and still attend.
They're not selling day passes this year as well. There is a Telegram group that if you're looking for a ticket to Pork Fest that you can join, and people who are unable to attend or that are selling their tickets, most of the time at cost is what they paid for them, that you can buy tickets, but you have to buy one on the black market. You can't get a day pass, and you can't buy a ticket from Pork Fest itself.
Why wouldn't they do day passes?
Because they are at capacity. They can no longer take any more people into Rogers. That is what I was told by Lopez.
You'll have a lot of fun at Fork Fest.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, Fork Fest is the only one that's on the table still. Evidently, you can't even get a day pass for the Porcupine Freedom Festival. But Fork Fest is still happening June 20, and it may be sold out too. I honestly don't know.
No, I think that
no one is in charge of Fork Fest, so no one is sitting there saying, okay, well, we have this many people coming and we can't have any more. So, I mean, for all I know, everyone's staying through Fork Fest.
Yeah, there are still some sites available at Rogers that you can get for Fork Fest. So if you want to come, we would love to have you. It's going to be a lot of fun. They have a great fireworks show that they're going to be doing, I believe, on the 3rd this year.
Cool. I believe it's the 3rd.
Yep.
And you're calling from Austin, Texas, right, Daniel?
Yeah.
Well, I'm from San Antonio, and I'd like to recommend it to you. It's really nice up here. It's only 50% humidity usually instead of 80%.
Yeah, but definitely bring a hoodie, bring a sweater, because I was not aware of this the first time I came to Fork Fest. But yes, even in the middle of June in New Hampshire, it's still a little chilly. I was just outside smoking during the long break. I was like, I really should have brought my hoodie out here for this, because it's even here in Keene, it's chilly, and this is up in the mountains where it's. I think one year it dropped down into the 40s. I mean, it gets cold.
We
up there.
turned the heat on, yeah.
Daniel, thank you so much tonight for the call. I'm shocked to find that like Rogers Campground is just fully at capacity.
That is what I was told when we were talking about tickets, and they said they weren't selling anymore, is that they weren't going to sell day passes either because they couldn't handle any more people.
Or is Rogers Campground going to prevent people from coming in?
I don't know.
Well, to answer his question, though, Fork Fest is the more fun one, right? I've never been to either one.
Well, it depends on what you're into, right? If you're into listening to a bunch of seminars and conferences and hanging out with people in a very organized and structured way, then the Porcupine Freedom Festival is the best method for you. If you're into like having a designated breakfast at 10 a.m. out in this area, and this is where we go and we talk, our dogs meet each other or whatever, then the Porcupine Freedom Festival is the way to go. But if you're more like the type who says, okay, I'm here, I have a dog, there are people, oh, those people are doing things, I'm going to go join them, then it's Fork Fest. And that tends to be the way I operate. I don't like a bunch of structure and organization and stuff like that that's generally unnecessary. I want to be tied to a schedule. Oh, no, I can't do this because I have to do this other thing at 10 a.m. and I won't have time to go do the meet out with the dogs and then get over here in time for the yoga and then go catch Jeffrey Tucker's speech.
This is the first year that I have to have a schedule. I've been to several of these, and I volunteered at different things this year, and it's the first time I've ever volunteered, and I'm kind of like a little overwhelmed because I have to be at this place at this time, and I have to be somewhere on Tuesday, and I have to be somewhere on Wednesday, and so I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is...
What else did you volunteer for?
I will Meet the Regions. I'm going to do the Meet the Regions for the Monadnock region on Tuesday. And then I'm going to volunteer at one of the booths. Like they have this porcupine information booth that people can come up and they can ask questions about different places. And so I'm going to volunteer there a couple of days. And so it will be...
This is all at the Porcupine Freedom Festival, correct?
Yes, it's all at Fork Fest. Because at Fork Fest, I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to deal cards. I'm going to have fun and hang out and help with the show and just relax, which is going to be beautiful.
Well, hopefully you get a chance to do those things during during the Porcupine Freedom Festival as well. We've also got Jim calling. Jim, you're on Free Talk Live. There's a lot of background noise there, Jim. I'm putting that back on hold.
Didn't sound like he realized he was on.
No, probably not. Well, he sat on hold for 20-something minutes, so that happens.
Yeah.
But he's probably not actively listening to the show anyway, and I don't want to hear whatever that was. So anyway, Bonnie, you brought in a related story. Now, the U.S. Space Force. Do either of you even know what they were supposed to do? What is their goal? Why do we have a Space Force? Is it to defend against the extraterrestrials?
I don't know, that we don't know about.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Or is it so that we can, have military on the moon or in orbit?
Maybe they're trying to find another place for us to go when we destroy the planet.
I can't remember. I remember Trump talking about it. I think he was just saying, like, we're, going to start exploring space soon, and we want to make sure we have the first defense team, that's, on that area. I don't know. I can't remember if there was anything more specific than that. But it's weird.
That is such a human way to view the universe. Oh, we're going to go out exploring. We have to have a way of defending ourselves against whatever we might encounter.
Alien communists.
And in fact, there's no reason to assume that extraterrestrials would be malevolent. They would almost certainly be benevolent and as curious about us as we would be about them. But if you let your military be your ambassadors to ET, you're going to have a bad time.
Yep.
202-380-3699. More about this Space Force, what it was supposed to be doing, and what it's actually doing. 202-380-3699. This is Free Talk Live.
After a devastating war, the alien visitors were driven back, and their willing human collaborators were left behind to face the music. When Emma Jean Anderson's ex-lover brings her from prison, Nathan Foster and his 14-year-old nephew Ben are tasked with bringing the pair to justice. An easy enough job until they discover something is inside Emma Jean, and the fate of the planet hangs in the balance. The Family Business by Mike Coopery from BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live listen line, 641-793-0191.
After a devastating war, the alien visitors were driven back, and their willing human collaborators were left behind to face the music. When Emma Jean Anderson's ex-lover brings her from prison, Nathan Foster and his 14-year-old nephew Ben are tasked with bringing the pair to justice. An easy enough job until they discover something is inside Emma Jean, and the fate of the planet hangs in the balance. The Family Business by Mike Coopery from BaneBooks.com. Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, 202-380-3699. If you want to join the discussion, that's 202-380-3699. With you tonight, it's Aria,
Angie,
and Bonnie.
And we've been talking about aliens, and now we're moving on to the Space Force that the Trump administration set up. I don't know what it was designed to do or what it was supposed to do, but evidently it's not doing whatever that mission is. Bonnie, I believe you have a story in regard to that.
Yes, this from Business Insider says, U.S. Space Force has fired its first shots of the drug war. Because that makes sense for the Space War to be working, or Space Force to be working on.
So the Space Force is fighting in the drug war.
Because our drugs come from space, right?
That would be cool. Space Force is the newest U.S. military branch, and it has now joined the U.S.'s longest-running war. The 45th Security Forces Squadron seized roughly 65 pounds of cocaine found on a beach at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station on May 19th. The squadron is part of the...
Hold up. They found 65 pounds of cocaine at their station?
Yes, because it washed up. Yeah.
Oh.
It says...
So they're not even in space.
Nope.
They're just hanging out on a beach.
Yeah.
On the caption of the picture...
And they found some cocaine.
Yes. It came to them. There's a picture... There's a picture of cocaine in some sand, and there's like a caption. It says, U.S. Space Forces personnel found roughly 65 pounds of cocaine on a Florida beach in May. Packages like these are typically dumped overboard after accidents or attempts to evade authorities. So if they're about to get pulled over on their boat, they'll throw out their cocaine, and then it'll wash up on a beach.
I don't know what I expected from a Space Force set up by the Trump administration, but, you know, now that I'm hearing about it, if I had to guess, a bunch of dudes sitting around on a beach with cocaine magically appearing would be about right.
Oh, we just found it.
It washed up.
The squadron is part of Space Launch Delta 45, based at Patrick Space Force Base on Florida's Atlantic coast. I had no idea there was even already Space Force bases.
There's probably plenty of unused military bases in the U.S. They were probably just like, here, you can have this one.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Plus, it could be a joint military base. The base was renamed after Space Force was formed. The new branch also renamed its units Deltas. Okay, so that makes sense. A wildlife manager with the 45th Civil Engineer Squadron, another Space Launch Delta 45 unit, found one package of what appeared to be drugs while conducting sea turtle nesting survey on the beach. Is that also what they're... Oh, never mind. Sorry, I thought that was a... Oh, yeah, it is a Space Force Delta unit.
They're studying sea turtle nesting on the beach.
So they have wildlife managers in the Space Force? It's just so weird.
So we have a bunch of dudes hanging out on a beach, staring at turtles with magical cocaine appearing.
It just washed up on the beach.
That sounds like the government.
This sounds almost like a dream job, though. I mean, they're getting paid to stare at turtles on the beach. And cocaine just magically appears. Let's hold. I can't handle any more of the absurdity at the moment, and I just feel it. There's going to be some other weird thing about this coming up. We've got Bonnie calling from New Jersey. Bonnie, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
Good.
Hey,
How
what's
are
on
you?
your mind tonight?
Good, thanks. I was calling. I've been listening for a long time, and this is my first time calling. I'm a little bit nervous, but my husband and I are attending the Porcupine Freedom Festival. We've gone a number of years now, and we wanted to throw a party, and we thought, what better way to, celebrate this occasion than to dedicate this party to something that's meaningful to us. So when we heard about what had happened with the Crypto 6, we decided to throw this party as a fundraiser for the Crypto 6 Defense Fund. So I wanted to call and, ask for your blessing, first and foremost, and secondly, to promote the event so we could have some attendees and get some fundraising done.
Absolutely. You certainly have my blessing. I can't speak for anyone else, but
I think that's great, Bonnie.
No, of course
I'd
not.
like to hear more information. Do you know what night you're planning on having your party?
Yeah, so we're actually going to do it during the day because we thought there's a lot of events happening at nighttime, and we thought it might be nice. And if people want to come and really party, they certainly can. But if people also just want to come hang out and maybe dance and listen to some funky music around some like-minded Liberty folks who want to help the Crypto 6, that's kind of what we're going for. So we're at Site 61, which is Tenting Site 61, U61. They've got this new map organization thing this year that I'm not so familiar with.
Yeah.
But
I haven't looked into it yet. I tend to just wander around.
Yeah, well, I assure you, you will hear us because my husband DJs and he's bringing all of his equipment, so you won't be able to miss us.
Well, I mean, if you're having a Crypto 6 fundraiser,
we're going to be there.
I'm going to be there for sure.
Absolutely.
I want to go.
Oh, that would absolutely make our day.
What
We would
day
love
was
if
it?
You guys attended. Wednesday from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m.
Wednesday, 2 to 5. Okay.
So what kind of music
And
does
it's
he
on the
play?
schedule. So he's looking at mostly playing house music and hip hop, like leaning maybe more towards some groovy hip hop that would be appropriate for families because this is a family-friendly event. I am making some cocktails. I'm going to be making. I'm a bartender. I'm going to be making 4 cocktails. I'm going to make the AstraZeneca, the Johnson & Johnson, the Pfizer, and the Moderna. So
Nice.
pick your poison, if you will. And all of those will be offered at no charge. We just ask for a donation.
And are you going to
in
be
whatever form you
accepting
find
donations in cash and crypto, or just one or the other, or?
Yeah, I'm actually a metals dealer as my day job, so I'll also accept gold and silver, which I can turn into FRNs if that's what you guys would prefer. But we can talk about that, in whatever way at the event. But we will be accepting crypto as well. I'm hoping to take your QR codes and blow them up so I can put them out on the table and people can just donate that way.
Those are on the crypto6.com. You might have already known that, but just letting the listeners know.
Yeah. So I'm not super technology savvy, but I'm hoping I can screenshot them and blow them up.
Nice.
And then people can just scan them. Or maybe I can get an iPad and just have the Crypto 6 website there, and then they can scan it from there. That might be better than a screenshot.
I think that you'll want a screenshot or something printed because the internet sometimes can be kind of hokey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So, yeah, I think a screenshot, and then hopefully I can just blow it up without altering the image, which I don't really know how that works.
Yeah,
but hopefully I'll
it's
definitely
really
figure it out before next Wednesday.
It's really simple. If you want to shoot me an email at aria@freetalklive.com, I can provide you with, blown up versions of those QR codes very easily and very quickly.
Oh,
and
that would be amazing. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. That's Wednesday at 2 o'clock p.m. I imagine a lot of people are suddenly looking forward to it. I didn't even know it was happening.
I didn't either.
But,
so I'm glad that she called, Bonnie. I appreciate
Nice.
that being your first call.
And I had one additional question for you. Are you still with us, Bonnie?
Yes, I'm here.
Now, the Telegram chat from Forkfest used to be very busy, and I didn't always keep up with it. Were you the person who at one point was planning a pajama party?
No, I'm actually not in the Forkfest chat because we're not able to attend Forkfest this year.
Okay.
We have gone in previous years, but we're only able to attend the Porcupine Freedom Festival this year.
Okay. Well, we will be there for that one. I look forward to seeing you. It's been driving me crazy because I was looking at working with someone to plan a party, and then the FBI took Telegram away from me, so I can't just continue trying to do that. And I don't even remember what this person's name was because I just knew them from a Telegram handle.
Well, I'd be willing to bet that she is super cool because her name is Bonnie.
Yep.
202-380-3699.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Karl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
I want you to imagine hanging out on a beach, staring at turtles, and suddenly there's cocaine.
And you're getting paid.
And you're getting paid for this. We're talking about the Space Force, which they seem to be kind of spacey. I don't know if that counts or not, but what they're doing here in Florida is studying the nesting. You know, I know it's a lie. I know that can't possibly be what they're actually doing, right? That's the U.S. government refusing to tell us what these people are actually doing. It has to be. I can't understand a world where there is a space force studying the nesting habits of sea turtles.
Maybe now let's just think that maybe they're trying to figure out if they can get these sea turtles onto another planet. Okay, maybe they survive. Maybe these are the ones that are going to survive there. Maybe, possibly, probably
Okay.
not.
They
but-
live a long time.
That-
I mean, see,
That could be, or learning how this creature nests could somehow.
I'm trying,
help
and
long-term.
then cocaine pops up.
Yeah, and then there's 65 pounds of cocaine.
I mean, I don't get it.
So, what happens next in this train wreck of a story?
It says 24 packages were found, and a narcotics agent from the Brevard County Sheriff's Office used a field test to confirm he rubbed it on his gums. Used a field test to confirm that they contained cocaine. The sheriff's office estimated the total value at $1.2 million. The cocaine was turned over to Homeland Security investigations, part of the Homeland Security Department.
So they could sell it to Mexican drug cartels and use the money to fund the Space Force Sea Turtles.
That's
it's
exactly
brilliant.
it. Yeah. We figured it out.
I wonder if there was more that they took, you know. They don't have to hand it all over.
Well, they probably wouldn't.
They could
but,
bury
yeah.
it with the eggs.
Yeah, I mean, they learned exactly how to bury an egg from watching these sea turtles.
So they could bury a package.
They could easily bury cocaine.
Okay. It says the Homeland Security did further testing. So it just sounds like they're doing more field tests with their
They're
gums.
just having a party out on the beach. You got DHS and the Space Force out there having a party, playing with the sea turtles and just doing cocaine.
Why did they need to do further testing? You could get somebody from Keene
Well,
State
they
College
didn't
to
need
figure it out.
to,
It
but
was
they
cocaine.
wanted to. Don't mind all of this. We're just testing it. It's good stuff. It's real.
It says HSI relayed the information to the DEA's El Paso Intelligence Center.
Oh, so they invited more people to the party.
Such information is often applied to larger cases like that of convicted Sinaloa cartel chief Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. So I don't know why they had to say that. Somehow this could possibly have something to do with El Chapo. Okay. Southeastern states were primary entry points for cocaine when use of the drug exploded in the U.S. in the late 1970s and early 80s. Law enforcement pressure forced smugglers to shift to routes through the Pacific Ocean and across Mexico, which is still the primary smuggling corridor.
So I just can't get over the visual image of the Space Force and the turtles and DHS and this other law enforcement agency just hanging out on the beach doing cocaine.
Yep. Testing. They're testing it.
Testing.
Yeah.
Cocaine.
Let's get it right.
Repeatedly.
Yeah.
Looking at the rest of this article, they were just giving that drug, drug war history to say that, oh, this is probably why it was dumped overboard on a ship, and that's how it ended up on the beach of the Space Force's backyard.
Well, $1.2 million worth of cocaine is certainly a lot of cocaine to just throw overboard. But I don't know what the circumstances around that were. I would, if I worked for El Chapo, I wouldn't want to have to explain to him why I threw away more than $1 million worth of cocaine.
I would probably jump in the water with the cocaine. Be like, okay, I'm out.
Or at least let the United States take you to a U.S. prison.
Is that the end of that story?
That was it.
Bizarre. I wish I could see what they were actually doing because I can't imagine that it actually... I need to know why they're studying sea turtles.
I picture beach chairs and hula girls and...
Yeah, it's like, hey, come on
turtles.
out, guys. We've got all of the cocaine. 65 pounds
Literally.
of it.
And we're testing.
They were testing it, and evidently it was good. I don't know. Did it say what happened with the cocaine, or are we just going to assume that they turned it over to someone?
They apparently turned it over to the Homeland Security investigations, which brought in the El Paso division, I guess, of the DEA to help them test it. Like, I just think it's funny. Multiple government agencies need to test it. I mean, at least if you were saying, like, oh, we're deciding what to do with it, maybe I could believe that. But I'm pretty sure that, like, any crackhead you find on the side of the street could just taste it and tell you if it's cocaine. Or
You would think so, and I would expect a DEA agent would be able to identify cocaine relatively easily as well, but they had to test it repeatedly I don't blame them.
I'm glad because I feel safer.
You know what? That's a good point. I feel safer, too, knowing that the Space Force is keeping a close eye on those dastardly sea turtles.
Yeah, exactly. And that they're using the cocaine to stay awake.
Oh, that's an excellent
yeah,
point.
because they can't miss anything. They have to know how to bury the eggs.
Yeah, and they seem to be good at it. And somehow this is going to get us to another planet. And it's going to help us when we run into an ET and they attack. They'll be able to throw super cocainated sea turtles at the extraterrestrials.
This sounds like a great story. I think we read it somewhere.
Like, just roll the window down and throw the cocaine sea turtle at them. Bizarre.
Maybe they were protecting the sea turtles from the use of cocaine. The sea turtle adolescents.
That would be just as plausible as anything else they could be doing with the sea turtles. I really need to know more about the Space Force, why they even exist, and what they're trying to accomplish. If it's to defend ourselves against extraterrestrials, I understand why a statist would be concerned about that, or a violent person would be concerned about that, because they're violent. They're just going to assume that any other entities they may encounter are also going to be violent. But if an extraterrestrial with the technological capabilities of traveling to planet Earth wanted to attack us, we would not stand a chance.
No way.
Independence Day made a really good movie, but Earth would have been annihilated.
Yep.
And it wouldn't have been some unemployed mathematician cracking the code to solve it. Humans would have just been annihilated.
I Googled it. I Googled what is the Space Force if you want me to read that to you.
Absolutely.
Says, energized by a new golden age of space and the emergence of orbit as a warfighting domain, the Space Force has become a major aspirational target for people with space-related resumes.
Okay, so they want to drag war into orbit around Earth. It's not enough to fight on the ground anymore. We also have to fight in space.
Well, Captain did recently have an article that I'm not sure if they actually talked about on FTL, but he was thinking about bringing on to FTL. That was, they were testing, I guess, in 2019, these weapons that would be orbiting the Earth like a satellite, and they would drop
the rods. I forget what they're called.
Like titanium rods or something else like that.
They have a clever nickname.
They
would drop it from space.
Rods from gods.
Is that it?
Rods from God or something. Well, I don't know. There might be another one. But yeah, they drop them from space, and the impact would be that like an atomic bomb because it
had so
takes
far to
so
travel.
much. Yeah.
I mean, that isn't new, though. That's something that was mentioned in one of the Call of Duty video games like 6 or 7 years ago.
Wow. Oh, that article was like from 2019 that he was talking about. But yeah, so that would maybe be like a orbital weapon that they're talking about.
The Call of Duty franchise works very closely with the U.S. military. So I would imagine they probably had some sort of inside knowledge of, hey, we want some creative sci-fi-ish thing that we can use in this video game. And the government was like, hey, okay, cool. Use these. And then 6 years later, the rest of the world catches up, and I end up sounding crazy saying, yeah, Call of Duty made this possibility known like 6 years ago.
So weird. Well, it says launched last December, the branch's stated mission is to provide space capabilities and to protect U.S. and allied security interests in space.
Look, if we reach a point where we're actually traveling space regularly, U.S. interests no longer matter. We're dealing with Earth interests at that point. That's why I'm not a fan of the Space Force. What are your thoughts? 202-380-3699.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
On March 16th of this year, a joint government task force raided the New Hampshire Bitcoin Embassy, the Mighty Moose Mart, the homes of Aria DiMezzo, Andy and Renee Spinella, Colleen Fordham, a grandmother, and perhaps most relevant, the studios of Free Talk Live. The Crypto Six were arrested, most were released, but Rich Paul, also known as Nobody, and Ian Freeman both remain in custody. We've been in contact with attorneys that say no crime even appears to have been committed, but that didn't stop the Joint Thug Task Force from ripping out wires from the back of our broadcast stacks, taking Free Talk Live off the air, violating our and your First Amendment rights. You can go to thecrypto6.com and donate to fight against these charges. But as importantly, contact media and tell them about this outrage. This case is likely to set precedent for the use of cryptocurrency well into the future. Help our fight for liberty and financial freedom at thecrypto6.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. With you tonight, it's Aria,
Angie,
and Bonnie.
And someone mentioned this earlier, and then we got distracted with sea turtles and cocaine and the Space Force and extraterrestrials and Jon Stewart. Though I've always liked Jon Stewart, even though I didn't always agree with him politically. He's really clever. He's a smart guy. Mm-hmm. And he's usually pretty funny.
Yep.
I loved it when he had The Daily Show. When he left it, I stopped watching it.
That's what it was, The Daily Show, that I remember him from.
Yes, and I remember him as being relatively fair to Ron Paul. He talked about him more than most news anchors did, like pointed out after, I think it was the Iowa caucus, or I don't remember which one, but Ron Paul placed third in it, and they pointed out the person who placed first, second, fourth, and fifth, and even sixth. They mentioned Huntsman or whatever his name was, and it was Fox
third?
News or MSNBC or someone. They just skipped right over Ron Paul, and Jon Stewart was the only one I saw calling them out on this. And he's still got the video of it. You can probably find it on YouTube, but that was when he really earned my respect. I was like, you know what? That's awesome. You're right. You know, he placed fourth. Behind who? Because they never said.
Wow.
I mean, it's easy to fight back when the media hates you, but when they just pretend like you don't exist, it's almost impossible to fight back.
Mm-hmm.
But he's caused a firestorm on social media for making an impassioned argument in favor of the Wuhan lab leak theory on The Late Show. I didn't know he still had a show. But his remarks were avoided like the plague itself by the major TV networks. Appearing for the CBS late night show's first in-person studio taping since the pandemic began, Stewart shocked the audience by promoting the belief that the coronavirus stemmed from a Chinese coronavirus lab by suggesting it isn't far-fetched, comparing it to an outbreak of chocolatey goodness near Hershey, Pennsylvania. And he's not wrong, because this whole thing, they said it originated with a coronavirus in a bat, right? And that's what they study at the Wuhan laboratory, is specifically coronaviruses in bats. I don't know that that's what happened, but it certainly seems likely that while they were experimenting on coronaviruses in bats, they ended up finding one and infecting themselves with it accidentally, whereupon it spread everywhere. Who knows? Maybe a steam shovel mated with the cocoa bean, or it's the chocolate factory. Maybe. Okay, yeah, it took me a second to figure. Maybe the reason there's an outbreak of chocolatey goodness is because a steam shovel mated with the cocoa bean, or it's the chocolate factory. Despite his remarks getting millions of views on Twitter and YouTube, Stewart's comments were completely ignored by CNN, MSNBC, ABC, and NBC. Even CBS whitewashed Stewart's Wuhan commentary, showing a brief clip of his late show appearance. Guest Jon Stewart said, "We owe a debt of gratitude towards science. Science has in many ways helped ease the suffering of this pandemic." That's why weird editing choices here for this article. I would expect them to have went on to say that, the way in which they whitewashed Stewart's commentary was by showing a clip of him on the show, but clipping out that part entirely. But they didn't say that that's what happened, and instead they started talking about Jon Stewart and science, which comes out of nowhere. While the report showed Colbert's, does he still go by Colbert?
I don't know.
Dramatic reaction to the remark. I don't even know how Colbert got introduced into this equation. We're halfway through the article, and it's the first mention of him.
Yep. Oh, I think it's his show, actually. I think that Jon Stewart was a guest on the show.
Okay. See, that would have been useful information for them to put at the beginning of their article.
I saw something
about
about
it
on
on Twitter. That's why we often say, well, Jon Stewart's this guy who used to do The Daily Show, instead of just saying Jon Stewart and then carrying on, and then 5 minutes later bringing up.
Is this Fox News?
It is. Well, I've only allowed 1 or 2 sources at the moment, Fox News and MSNBC, and MSNBC is horrible. They don't even have news there. It's just opinion pieces.
Wow.
And they're obsessed with Donald Trump and Republicans. Mark actually brought up a study about this last night. They mentioned Donald Trump like 125% more than they mentioned Joe Biden.
Still today?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to MSNBC.com right now, the articles you're going to find are going to be all about Trump. I'll pull it up real quick just to prove my point. It's going to be all about Trump and why conservatives are bad.
Yeah, there was an MSNBC headline. I didn't read the article. It just said...
Oh, I can't bring it up because they changed their ad block policy.
Oh, that's so annoying.
Yeah. But yeah, they are obsessed with Trump even now. However, the little attention that Stewart received from the liberal media was mostly negative, including from the Washington Post. Fox, you can't say the media completely ignored him and then call out examples of the media not ignoring him. The Washington Post evidently published a blistering op-ed urging readers not to rely on celebrities like him.
Oh, that's what I was about to say. I don't know why I thought it was MSNBC. Yeah, it said, don't get your COVID theories from celebrities. Okay, well, the media is always using celebrities to push their COVID ideas.
Yeah, they've used celebrities to push all sorts of ideas, not just limited to COVID, for sure. For years, as the former longtime host of The Daily Show, Stewart was a media darling who was revered by liberal journalists for his political commentary. Even after stepping down, Stewart's media presence continued, largely due to his activism on behalf of 9/11 first responders and veterans. And then the article just sort of ends. It doesn't really give me much information about... I mean, was that it? Was that his entire claim? Is that, it's like expecting a steam shovel and cocoa to accidentally produce a chocolate spill near Hershey, Pennsylvania, or whatever. However it is he phrased it, that's the extent of it.
I think so. That sounded like it.
Still, he's not wrong, right? We don't know where this virus originated. If you get crucified in the media for even allowing the possibility that it could have been a lab leak, then we can't even have a discussion about where this virus came from. And if it did come from a lab leak, and there is a lab in China that is developing these sorts of diseases and letting them out into the public accidentally or purposefully, then that's something that we as a people should know about and should shut down before it happens again.
Wasn't it called some kind of Wuhan thing before it was called COVID?
Yeah, that's so funny because I was looking at the article I had from the New York Post and seeing if there was any more info. It was just kind of hard to skim it. But John Stewart mentioned, he said, the disease has the name of the lab in its name. And I was like, wait, isn't it COVID-19?
So no, I'm pretty sure that it was called the Wuhan something or another before it was called COVID-19 because it originated from there.
Well, there's no doubt that it originated, it first appeared, or it seems to have first appeared in Wuhan. However, we don't know if that's even true because blood samples from the Red Cross taken in December of 2019 have the antibodies for COVID-19, meaning the person who gave that blood from within the United States had already had COVID-19 in December prior to
the pandemic starting in March.
So we don't actually know. And, I haven't heard anything else about that. Maybe that turned out to not be true, but I certainly...
Well, I heard that it came sometime in October before October of 2019. But it had arrived a little before that, and that
it seems very likely.
Yeah. I got a horrible flu that either November or December, I called off of work for 2 weeks. I just had something totally wrong with me for 2 weeks. It was a cough and headaches and nose dripping. And
well, the flu was really bad that year.
Could have been that too. I didn't go to the doctor.
I got the flu that year. I didn't go to the doctor either because, I'm a young, healthy person. If I get the flu, I'm just going to keep going.
Exactly.
I'm going to get well eventually.
Yep.
Do you guys remember at the beginning they were saying that it came from snake meat?
No, I don't remember that.
It's like a 1984, how they were hiding information and then changing it the next week and everybody would forget it. That's what I always remembered it being, was that it came from snake meat at markets. And then all of a sudden that was dropped. Oh, it's bats. Oh, it came from a bat. Me and my friend used to be obsessively reading about updates on the coronavirus in November 2019 because we were just oh my God, this is probably going to be something really scary. They're probably going to, start a pandemic and we're going to, and that's what happened. So I remember looking up I remember reading a headline with him and it said that there had been 19 deaths. I was on top of this. I knew it was going to be something big. And at first they were saying it came from snake meats in the markets in Wuhan. And nobody really remembers that. I don't know. I can Google it and see if it's still...
Well, it sounds like they didn't know at first where it came from. I'm not going to hold it against them that initially they thought snake meats, and they're like, oh no, it probably originated with the bat. Because, they're still learning. What I'm curious about is, I'm not going to really have time to get into it, but there's this Chinese defector who shares videos from supposedly things happening in China. You see people killing over in the streets and stuff, just dropping dead on tables. What was going on with all of that? We're never going to know.
Nope.
Thanks for listening. We're online in the meantime. Chat with us over at social.freetalklive.com or chat.matrix.lrn.fm, social.freetalklive.com.
A newly recruited search and rescue officer, Marshall Hunter was resigned to a life of rescuing wayward spacefarers and derelict satellites. But when a billionaire couple goes missing, his own ship is disabled during the rescue. With communication satellites suddenly failing and lunar mineral shipments disappearing in transit, the crew suspects it's more than a coincidence, and Hunter must choose between salvation and sacrifice to save